Hello and thank you for joining us. Today we'll be talking about multicentric lymphoma. My name is Nupur Desai and I'm a veterinary oncologist in Mumbai. So basically when you're talking about lymphoma, these tumors originate from lymphoreticular cells. So you're going to find lymphoma in the bone marrow, lymph nodes, spleen, and honestly any tissue in the body. So you can have primary lymphoma of the nasal cavity, renal lymphoma, GI lymphoma, so on and so forth. But the most common presentation is multicentric lymphoma. Before I begin though, we'll be talking only about multicentric lymphoma, which is the most common tumor type in dogs. It's a completely different disease in cats. The way we treat it, the way we approach it is also different. So whatever we're talking about right now is dog specific. So let's not complicate matters. We don't have time to talk about cats today. So like I said, lymphoma, multicentric lymphoma is one of the most common tumor types in dogs. That's why it's important to talk about it. Usually when you see these cases, most of these dogs are middle-aged to older, coming in with these really large lymph nodes. So in the first lecture we talked about peripheral lymph nodes and their location. We talked about mandibulars, prescapular, inguinal, axillary, and popliteal lymph nodes. Now these are lymph nodes that can be palpated from outside as well, outside the body as well. And then of course there are lymph nodes inside. So in the chest cavity, in the abdominal, pelvic cavity, we are going to find lymph nodes there as well. But a lot of times these dogs present to you with really large lymph nodes. Some of them come in wagging their tails, happy as anything, not showing any other clinical signs. In some cases though, you are going to see clinical signs of extreme lethargy, increase in water intake, increase in urination. The reason for PUPD is because sometimes lymphoma can cause hypercalcemia. So if you're suspecting lymphoma in a dog, I always recommend doing an ionized calcium to look at the calcium levels in the body. Sometimes they come in with difficulty breathing because these really large lymph nodes could be compressing the trachea or compressing, putting pressure onto in the thoracic cavity as well. But a lot of times they come in wagging their tails, being happy. So if a dog presents with these clinical signs, for example, this dog has shown pretty significant peripheral lymphadenopathy, the next step would be to do a fine needle aspirate. Because your differentials for enlarged lymph nodes, lymphoma has to be on the top of your differential list. There are very few things which actually do this kind of significant increase in lymph node sizes. Tick fever, tick-borne parasites is one of them. Lymphadenitis would be other. Sometimes some dogs have really bad skin, which is why these lymph nodes are reacting to the bad skin, to the infection. But lymphoma has to be your first differential. So the way you're going to get diagnosis is by doing a fine needle aspirate. And in the first lecture we talked about how to do a fine needle aspirate. Normally I would recommend using the popliteal or the prescapular lymph nodes to take your fine needle aspirate sample. We prefer not to take mandibulars, and the reason for that is sometimes we may get a non-diagnostic sample or a sample that has a reactive lymph node, because a lot of dogs have oral disease, dental disease. So the lymph nodes may not be a true representation of lymphoma. So on your fine needle aspirate, what you are going to see is these basically round cells. Lymphoma is a round cell tumor. So in this picture, what we are seeing is round cells with different shapes and sizes. These are more usually large cells that you're going to see, larger, 2 times larger than your neutrophils. And there'll be difference in the shape of the cells, difference in the size of the nucleus. So anisocytosis, anisokaryosis. You may see some mitotic figures in there. So this is what you'd be seeing on your cytology. In some cases, you may not get an answer on fine needle aspirate. But if all the clinical signs are pointing towards this being lymphoma, then the next step would be to do a biopsy. So for your biopsy, you can either do a true cut biopsy, a wedge biopsy, or just remove the entire lymph node. Either ways is a pretty good way of getting a diagnosis. So once you have a diagnosis, the next step would be staging. So for lymphoma, there's stage 1 to stage 5. Stage 1 would be only one lymph node that's affected. Stage 2 would be lymph nodes in one half of the body. So say, if it's in the cranial portion of the body before the diaphragm, or the caudal portion that's after the diaphragm. Stage 3 would be if all the peripheral lymph nodes are involved. Stage 4 for lymphoma would be if the liver and the spleen are involved as well. And stage 5 would be bone marrow involvement, or involvement of an extranodal site. So if there's peripheral lymphadenopathy, if there's thoracic and pelvic abdominal lymphadenopathy, along with involvement of the kidneys or the nervous system, that would be a stage 5 along with bone marrow involvement. So stage 1, say stage 2 to stage 4 doesn't really change the prognosis. A lot of times I do get patients who are like, oh, it's in the liver and spleen, there's nothing we can do, it's really spread. That's not true. Stage 4, which would be liver and spleen involvement, has just as good a prognosis as a stage 2. So it's very important to know that and educate the clients about that. The other thing we look at is substage A or B. So substage A is when the dog comes in feeling well, like I said, wagging their tails, otherwise eating, drinking okay. Substage B is when the dog feels quite sick. So why it's important to again differentiate between the two is because there's certain prognostic factors that we look at for lymphoma that have shown to reduce the survival. So hypercalcemia being one of them, substage A versus B being the other. So substage B does worse. Stage 5 lymphoma, they do worse as well. And with lymphoma, there's either a B or a T cell lymphoma. Now that's also an important distinction because because B cell lymphomas have a better prognosis than T cell lymphomas. So certain breeds like boxers are more prone to getting T cell lymphomas, and overall the prognosis is worse with T cell lymphomas. So you can also do some additional staining on your slides to see if it's B versus T cell lymphoma. So we've talked about a diagnosis. You do a fine needle or a biopsy, get a diagnosis. You see what stage the dog is in. Stage 1 to stage 5. You can see if there's a B versus T cell lymphoma. In a lot of places, in a lot of times, it's an additional cost to the owners. So the treatment doesn't necessarily change. So you can, it's up to the owners if they want to, pet parents if they want to do this additional staining or not. Then comes the treatment options, right? Before that, actually, let's talk about staging. Staging as in if the liver or the spleen is involved. So basically what we do is, again, it doesn't necessarily change the treatment options, but it may help the pet parents make a decision if they want to treat or not, in case they feel it's a very advanced stage. So we can do chest x-rays. On the chest x-rays, in this picture you're seeing an involvement of the mediastinum. You can also find tracheobronchial lymph nodes that are involved. You could also do an abdominal sonography and look at the liver, spleen and abdominal lymph nodes as well. Some people like to do a fine needle of the liver and spleen just to see if it's involved. But remember, stage 4 doesn't change the prognosis. So again, if the pet parents are money constrained, a lot of times I don't even do these tests. If there's a diagnosis of lymphoma and they're willing to treat, we can just go ahead and treat. As far as treatment options go for lymphoma, normally chemotherapy would be the treatment of choice, because it is a systemic disease. Unless it's a stage 1 where you can just remove the lymph node and be done with it. But mostly it's a very rare presentation. Mostly you're going to find at least a stage 3 lymphoma dog coming in. So as far as treatment options go, steroids plays a huge role in the treatment of lymphoma. These tumors are very responsive to steroids, so no matter what protocol we choose, steroids plays a huge role. Or single agent doxorubicin, lomustine are two other single agent. So it's all both these drugs are given once a week. Doxorubicin is given intravenously, and CCNU or lomustine is given orally every 3 weeks. But the most common protocol used, or a protocol that gives us the most, I would say, longest survival, would be the combination protocol called the CHOP chemotherapy protocol, or University of Wisconsin 19-week protocol. In this protocol, basically, we are going to use 3 different drugs given over a 4-week period. Normally, they get the 5th week off, and we just continue with this for 4 complete cycles. So, the difference in survival is quite a bit. If you consider the single agent, doxorubicin or lomustine, the average survival is about 6 months, versus the average survival for a CHOP protocol would be about a year. 20% can live up to 2 years as well. But it is an involved protocol, weekly visits, it is expensive. So in those cases, you could try, in the cases who can't really afford this, we could try the single agent protocol as well. Also, the side effects of these drugs, like we spoke about initially, very important to talk about what the side effect of every drug is. I'm not going to get into details of each, but it is important to know what the side effects are before starting those. Normally, what we see with the CHOP protocol is we finish the 19-week protocol, we stop treatment, we don't treat with anything after the 19 weeks, and we keep seeing the dog maybe every month. Normally, after 3 to 4 months, they do come out of remission. So after that, after about 3 to 4 months after stopping your therapy, we may need to reinitiate the CHOP chemotherapy protocol or go on to a rescue protocol. So that decision is made based on the interval of how long the gap is between the first CHOP protocol. Do they come out of remission after a month? If they do, then we may have to go into using a rescue therapy. Or is it about 3 to 4 months? In that case, we may be able to reinitiate CHOP. So that's a decision depending on how the dog is doing, financials and things like that. The second remission, though, tends to be shorter than the first remission. In my experience, a lot of times, dogs don't really complete the second cycle of CHOP. Mostly they stop responding to these drugs after a while. So in that case, you may again have to give some rescue therapy. Again, I'm not going to get in detail about the rescue therapy right now. And the other option is not doing chemotherapy at all. Prednis alone or steroids alone, the average survival is about 4 to 8 weeks. So if for some reason the pet parent decides not to initiate chemotherapy for lymphoma, steroids alone could be initiated as well. One thing to remember though is, if at presentation the pet parents need some time to think about their treatment options, just be very clear that if they are on steroids for a long time before starting the chemotherapy protocol, they can develop some resistance. Unfortunately, I have had a few patients who come in with being on steroids for about 2 months before wanting to start chemotherapy, and I always warn the pet parents that prolonged use of steroids before initiating chemotherapy for lymphoma may cause resistance to the chemotherapy drugs. So usually, even to the clinicians, I would like to say that if you're sure this is if you're sure this is lymphoma, at least present the option to the owners about their chemotherapy options. And if they need some time to think, it's okay to start maybe a week, give them about a week's time after initiating steroids. But beyond that, they could have some resistance to chemotherapy if chemotherapy is initiated after starting steroids. So I think that's all about lymphoma. We've talked about the chemotherapy side effects previously as well. So just in brief, multicentric lymphoma is one of the most common tumors in dogs. Diagnosis can be reached by doing a fine needle aspirate. Staging, chest x-rays and abdominal sonography can be done. Stage 2 to stage 4 has the same prognosis as stage 2 to stage 4 has the same prognosis. Stage 5 has a worse prognosis. And unfortunately, we don't cure lymphoma. We can manage it by giving chemotherapy. And we've talked about the different average survivals. So thank you for joining us. Bye.